$11,000. That's how much I generated my first month on eBay, and during that time I learned a lot. I created a system that seemed to work every time. And in this video I'm going to share with you everything I learned during that time, my system, and how I guaranteed that I would make money every time. And make no mistake, everything I'm going to share with you in this video matters, every single detail. So make sure you stay till the end of the video so you get all of the tips and tricks that I learned along the way. I wish that when I was starting off I saw a video like this that would be able to tell me all the details in order to make money on eBay. Anyway, I'm going to share with you my exact system, and then at the end I'm going to share some of the mistakes I've made so that you can avoid doing the same. Anyway, with that being said, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and we can begin with the video. Okay, let's begin. In order to find things to sell, to resell, typically you're going to be finding things mostly in secondhand stores, Facebook Marketplace, and garage sales as well. You could also find a lot of really great stuff at garage sales. Craigslist used to be really good for finding things, but at least in San Antonio where I was, it wasn't really useful anymore. There wasn't much on there, and when you would try to contact someone, they typically wouldn't respond. So now I typically only used Facebook Marketplace, secondhand stores, and garage sales. Another option is to order things in bulk from China, but that's a bit tricky, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the end as well. Okay, the next thing, and this is massively important, you really want to get this down, and it is determining the price of things. What is something worth? Should you buy it or not? Is it at a good price? So in order to determine the value of something, you want to go on eBay. And you want to look for the product that you're looking at, the exact model, the same thing, whether it's open boxed, used, same condition. You want to look for it. Now, you're going to get some results. Don't look at that. Ignore that completely, because the price that the things are listed for is not what they sell for. You want to go into the side tab and click sold items. Then you can take a look there and see what items have been sold, in what condition, how often. And this is also very important. How many of these products are being sold? If it's something that has maybe 20, 30, 40 sales a day, then it's pretty good. If it's something that, has maybe a sell every couple of days, you may take into consideration that it may not sell because there is a certain supply and demand. So if you buy something that takes a couple of days to sell amongst the supply of everybody else, it may take you weeks to months to sell something. Anyway, once you're here in the sold section, you can take a look at everything that's here, and here it'll be very clear what the price of something is and what it's worth and what you could potentially sell it for. You never want to look at things that are listed because honestly, a lot of people list things for more than what it's going to sell. Okay, next is the 50% rule. This is super important. Because of this rule is how I was able to profit so much. Now, how much did I profit? Well, I brought in $11,000 in my first month, but how much of that was profit? Well, eBay takes about 10%, and I had to buy tape and boxes and shipping and a lot of other things like that. With fees, I ended up with around $4,000 to $5,000, which is a lot actually. Typically in a resale business, you're gonna expect anywhere between 15 and 30%. However, I had more than that. Why? Because of my 50% rule. Once I've seen something that I think I could sell, I've checked the price, let's say it's worth $100, I can only pay $50 for it. And that's the 50% rule. I will only pay 50% of what I could sell it for. Now that seems a little crazy. I mean, how consistently can you get something for half the price of what it's worth? Well, I had a lot of success with it. In fact, I would get things every single day. Now trust me, you do not want to move from this 50% rule. It's very important that you maintain it. In occasions, you could make exceptions, go to 55%, 60% maybe, but typically you don't want to do any more than that. Why? Because of all the expenses and costs that are on the other side of just buying and selling. First of all, eBay charges 10%. Then you have PayPal fees, which are, I believe, 2%. I don't remember, but right there, 12% gone, disappeared. Next, you have shipping costs, which is another $10 to $18 or so. On top of that, you have the price of your consumables, your tape, your boxes, your packing material, things like that, even the gas that you use to drive to the post office. So taking all of that into consideration, paying 50% for something will leave you with about 20 to 30% profit. Now, I do want to clarify, you could pay less than the 50%, which often happened to me. I would see something that was worth maybe 80 or 90 bucks and pay $5 or $6 for it, which is significantly less than the 50%. And there is where I would make significantly more profit. However, I knew that if it went beyond the 50%, that it just wasn't worth it and I wasn't going to be profitable. Now, there is an exception to this. When the products get to a very expensive level, then you have a little bit more room, because shipping is going to be significantly less percentage and other things like that. But let's say it's something that's worth $400 or $500, then I'm okay with paying 65 to 70% at most for something that's significantly more expensive. However, there's a lot more risk to selling very expensive products because, well, it's more attractive to scammers to scam you with something that's worth more. Nonetheless, the 50% rule is something that you should follow always when it's something, I'd say, under $150 or so, and you shouldn't go anywhere beneath. I would say don't try and sell anything under $15 just because it's not worth it. You're only going to be making a couple of dollars, if any. Okay, so that's the 50% rule. So how do you find things for 50% value of what you're going to sell it for? Well, on Facebook Marketplace, you can often find things that are inexpensive, people that are just trying to get rid of things that don't really know the value of it and don't really care. Now, sometimes it's over the 50%, sometimes it's 70 or 80% of the value you're going to sell it for, but go ahead and just make an offer. It doesn't hurt to send offers out to people. Now, you're gonna get the occasional F off and are you dumb? Why are you offering me so little? Whatever, but that's just part of the show, part of the rejection. You're just gonna have to go ahead and send the messages and offer less. So even if things are out of your price range, go ahead and make some offers on it. It doesn't really hurt. Now, I will say, do not make people meet up with you and then offer them less. Only meet up with people when you already have a set price and you've agreed on what you're willing to pay for it. Once you meet up, you can inspect the product and then make your decisions based on that. But don't waste people's time. Okay, the next thing I did was to maintain everything organized. Now, this is something that's overlooked. You buy things and then you just throw them around and you have them sitting around your house, and then suddenly something sells and you're fishing around for it and it becomes hard to find it. Or sometimes there's similar products and you mix them up and you don't want that to happen. So you really want to have some organization for everything to be in its place so you can easily find it when it sells. And especially when it's something that has a lot of parts, you don't want to just have them all separated. You want to put them in a little bag or something like that so you don't lose the parts, and when you ship it out, so you ship it out all together. It's happened to me more than once where I ship out a product and it's missing a piece. Then I have to make a refund of something, I have to have the product sent back to me. It's just a huge headache. You always want to have the things together and make sure that you're sending everything that goes with it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is consumables. You're going to have to buy tape and boxes and things like that, but my recommendation is not to buy the cheapest tape. You're just going to have to throw it away. I bought a large pack of cheap tape that just doesn't stick to anything, and you're just not going to be able to use it. You're going to have to throw it out. In order to use the tape, I used to have to roll it around the whole box like 10 times, and it still wouldn't really stick. So don't buy super cheap tape, but don't buy really expensive tape either. After that bad experience, I started buying Scotch tape, which was far too expensive for what I was doing. My recommendation is Tape King. This is the perfect tape I found that was both inexpensive enough and really good, but wasn't gonna break the bank. So Tape King, that's my recommendation. I'm not sponsored by Tape King or anything like that. It's just what worked for me. The next thing is Polybags, and you could just buy these on eBay or anywhere else that you might find them inexpensively, but Polybags are great because you could just stuff things inside of these Polybags, close it up, and shipping is a little bit less expensive when you put it in a bag. In fact, I used to have little boxes of things and then put the cardboard box inside of a poly bag and it would be slightly less expensive just because it was in a bag. It's a bit weird, but you just put the box in a poly bag and it's less expensive. And next, once you start selling a lot of products where you're sending out a couple of things a day, I recommend you get a tape dispenser. Now this is seriously a life changer when it comes to packing things. It's so annoying to be looking for the end of the tape and then taping it on a million times a day. So getting a tape dispenser is a serious upgrade once you're selling a couple of things a day. Okay, final tip, and then we'll move into some of the mistakes I made when I was buying and selling products. You're going to encounter scammers, and there's really nothing you can do about it. When someone makes a claim with eBay as a buyer, there's nothing really you can do about it. My recommendation is to always work with the buyer. Have them send the product back. Have them offer them a refund, a 50% refund or something like that. Just try to work with them however you can. And in some cases, it's just gonna be a scammer who's gonna send you back a brick. So essentially, you're gonna get your product stolen once in a while. But with the 50% rule, you'll have enough profit that when you occasionally get something stolen, it's gonna be okay. That's already taken into account and you'll still be profitable. Just be careful when you're selling more expensive things. If something upwards of 150, 300 or up sells and the buyer does not have any feedback, just go ahead and cancel the order. It's not good for you. If you just cancel the order, you're gonna have to pay the fees anyway, but it's worth it over getting it stolen. So I just, that's a personal thing if you decide to send it out or not. Nonetheless, just do not fight buyers. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you do not accept the claim, if you do not do something about it, you'll get charged eBay fees and you'll lose anyway. So you have to do something about it. And if you give a 50% refund, if you have them send the product back, whatever it is that you do, you won't have to pay fees then. But if you decide to ignore it, if you say, no way, this is wrong, you're scamming me, whatever, you're gonna have to pay the fees. They're gonna send it back anyway. You're gonna end up losing more. Okay, now we move into some of my mistakes, and here is where I learned the most. From my mistakes is where the best things came out of, and finally, I hope I could share it with you guys so you guys don't have to go through the same mistakes I did. Now, there's the obvious mistakes of paying too much and buying things that weren't profitable. So, my first mistake is not sticking to the rule of figuring out the price and then buying it. Don't ever buy anything that you think might be worth something, because more often than not, it's not worth anything. So if you see something, make sure you do your research, find out whether it is or not worth something and whether you can sell it before buying it, and determine whether it is beneath that 50% rule. Now, there is an exception to this. In garage sales, oftentimes there's things that are extremely cheap, and I'll give you a story. I was at a garage sale once, and they had this Canon Super 8 camera, and I thought, fuck it, if it's worth less than $1, I'll take it. Even if it's not worth anything, it's a cool looking camera. So I asked, and it was 25 cents. So I thought, okay, I'll take it. And the camera was worth over $80. I made a lot of money on that. But don't ever pay more than maybe $5, $6, $10 at most if you don't know what the product is actually worth or what you could sell it for. Okay, my next mistake, and something that ruined me for a long time, was buying a fake product. I was buying Legos and I saw that they had a Millennium Falcon for sale, and I went to buy it. I saw it, I didn't know much about Legos at the time, and I thought, wow, I hit the jackpot here. I bought it so cheap. I took it home, I was doing a whole bunch of stuff, I put it for sale, and then I realized that the set I had just bought was fake. That's right, it wasn't Lego, it was something like Lepin or something like that, and it was worth absolutely nothing. So I lost like $150 on that, which sucked. So when you're buying products on Facebook Marketplace and places like that, make sure you check whatever details you can to ensure that it's a legitimate product. Okay, the next thing that they got me with was buying boxes that were sold as sealed, but were actually opened. On Facebook Marketplace, I went and bought like 6 or 7 boxes of things, and a couple of them were opened, but they were taped shut in a way that made it seem like they were sealed. So I took a quick look at them and thought, okay, they're sealed, they're good. And I ended up paying the price as if they were new. I took them home and then I sold them without even checking. Once I sent it to the buyer sent me a message, hey, this is not new, it was open, the pieces inside are loose. I had to refund half of the product because I didn't realize that. And I ended up losing money on that because I sold them as brand new and they weren't. So that's another thing you could check. Just make sure that when something is sealed, just check that it is sealed originally from the factory. Okay, next thing, something I mentioned at the beginning is buying bulk from China. I wouldn't recommend this, at least not in the beginning. Buying bulk from China has a lot of issues with it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and I did it and it kind of went wrong. It was during the pandemic and I thought, well, puzzles are selling really well right now. There's no puzzles at the stores. I'll just order a bunch of puzzles from China and sell them on eBay. It was a brilliant idea. So I ordered them super cheap. I paid like $40 for 120 puzzles. They arrived a couple weeks later and I sold them within like a week. I sold all of the puzzles. However, while it looked really great that I was able to sell these so fast, things started to get bad. Customers started to complain that there was missing pieces, that the pieces were too cheap and inexpensive, that they were falling apart, that they were really crappy, and they were right. The puzzle pieces were super crappy. They were some very flimsy cardboard and they were just not good at all. These puzzle sets were so poorly built, and I had to refund about half of all the puzzles I sold. I had to refund around 40 to 50 puzzles. I ended up losing money on that. Not a lot, fortunately, because a lot of people just went ahead and accepted it, but a lot of people weren't happy with it, and I wouldn't have been happy with it either, so I understand it. But it was a huge mistake, and I ended up losing a little bit of money on that. However, it's still something that I think could work, something like utility knives or products like that potentially you could sell and make a profit on it, but I don't think you're ever gonna make as much with something buying from bulk from China as you're gonna make from buying and reselling locally, at least in my experience. And those are the main mistakes I made. And if you don't deviate from the rules and systems I mentioned in this video, you'll pretty much guarantee that you're gonna make a profit and you'll succeed. Now, I'm not liable for any losses that you might make or anything like that, but I'm just saying that this has worked tremendously well for me and I made a lot of money despite my mistakes and losses. And hopefully with this video, you can avoid all of the mistakes, make all of the money, use the system, and be wildly profitable from the beginning. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have anything to say, leave it down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.